I don't get the Bible.
Chapter 5.
With Delaney and Shawn.
Galatians.
Welcome.
So Paul continues and he says, after he's talking about, he's specifically talking about the Jews with these Galatians trying to win them over.
Wait, speaking of evolution, we did in the last show. Everything's evolving. When we first did I Don't Get the Bible, we were like, hello, I'm Shawn, and this is my daughter, Delaney. She was like, hello.
Hello.
And we were and now we've evolved, and we're moving to make it better and faster. And so it's just amazing. Sorry.
Yeah, I have to sort out how to do this. Almost every episode, there's like a shift in how to talk to you. Because it's like I'm growing.
Yeah.
I started this with the agenda of like, there are literal like dumb word issues that people don't know if they haven't read the Bible. And now it's like we've talked about them.
Yeah.
You've already explained the premise of how to look at those words, so now you move on. So I don't even know how to do this.
You're not supposed to. It's the Spirit that's helping you move and grow. And that's what you want. You want the Spirit to do it rather than pro forma appearance, which is how other shows will evolve.
Yeah.
They'll make it cooler and they'll do new things. So, and you can see the evolution there.
Yeah.
We're trying to evolve in the Spirit on camera.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So for your knowledge, like, I hope you just say what you're thinking the way that I'm saying what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's kind of what's going on right now. And for everyone else, I hope it gives you some value somewhere. I think the whole effort is the value, to watch someone read the Bible and talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, candidly.
Yeah.
You've done it where you're teaching and you'll talk about it, but like, I don't know. I can't teach. I'm not teaching. I'm asking. Maybe that's what's of value, is to have a resource where you watch someone. It's like a study or something.
It's all of value. That's why if you do it authentically and naturally and without pretense, it has value, because people can watch things evolve and they can decide if that was a good shift and move or not.
Yeah, for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So Paul was talking about the Jews trying to sort of get to the Galatians, which is kind of what this whole letter is about. So, and he uses the example of Hagar and Sarah to explain why they are why the issue for them is reverting back to this slavery that they've grown out of. So he says, verse 1, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free, which is a weird sentence to me, but also cool. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. And again, it's like, personally, there's a weird issue, maybe it's as a woman or something in Christianity, to act confidently or something. I think it's the trouble, like maybe even in the organization that I've had, where it's like acting feels wrong for some reason. If it doesn't feel selfless, but there's a way to look at it as acting with God against the slavery that he's against, and it helps you see, like, that's not selfish. There's different kinds of acting confidently and like asserting what you want versus asserting, but I
think that's really interesting, because when it comes to a decision, then in my mind, it's always, I'm going to decide, unless I'm really in a bad state and I'm weak or something, I'm going to decide and stand with God.
Yes.
If that is not what I feel or can really do, I'm going to make that decision. That is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
because at least in that way I've made a choice and he can bring me up to that level.
Yes.
So I'm always going to act for him, but that's faith and that's what pleases him.
Yes.
The fact that it's not a reality, I don't think is a negative thing. I think it is relying and trusting him.
Yeah. There's this chapter, I don't really know why I got there, but there's something where I'm really asking, like, how much of us exists. It's a really crazy thing, faith and love. Like, you act according to God, in response to God, but then you love giving of yourself. So one of them is they're both giving away, but one of them is really self-assured with God, and the other's like non-existent self for other people. So there's a really weird tension there in my head.
I think the answer to it, as paradoxical or difficult as it can be, is the same as to answer, how did Christ operate in the flesh? What was him? What was his Father?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because in the two-way street of us and God, there is a mixture going on there that is so hard to get your hands around, that I think it's akin to asking that question about Christ.
I see. So it's the same thing. We talked about this on one of the call-in hours, where there's us, our flesh, and there's God in us, and that's the dynamic.
And who is going to lead and who is going to win?
With other people and in that dynamic itself.
But your flesh determines that. He doesn't determine it unless your flesh lets him, and then he acts. So it's that give and take, and I don't know how to really articulate it well.
It's the thing.
It's the thing.
Like, you can't ever solve it.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that embodies or like articulates what Paul's talking about to me, which is you're letting someone else come in and dictate the flesh part of you rather than the God that's in you. Why are you doing that?
Right.
Like, you've grown, like that's how we start in life. And that's what's hard about coming to faith, is growing up out of letting other people tell you how to live. But
Amen.
So mark my words, I, Paul, tell you that if you let yourself be circumcised, this was so confusing to me.
I know, it's really wild.
Weird. It's surprising. Yeah.
Just imagine there's a room full of uncircumcised men who are believers.
Okay.
And there's a faction of Jews outside who want to make us get circumcised so we can be right with God. So that's the setting.
Yeah.
So Paul is saying, if you let yourself get circumcised, you're gone.
Yeah. It's so weird though, because this is just different than I thought. You'd think the Gentiles in that time are sort of trying to associate with Jews and kind of be their friend and start to maybe even do, but he's so clearly like, you're like disregarding everything Christ did if you even try to get circumcised.
Think about that.
It's nuts.
That's why I'm so ardent.
No pun
They're
intended.
not involved, Dyer.
They're related.
They don't see the scalpel.
It's not nuts.
I can't make this stuff up. Yeah, so I can't even remember what we were talking about.
Him being so hard about Gentiles associating with Jews.
Well, associating physically in their rites. Yeah,
like,
rituals.
I thought there was a little more leeway. Like, I thought, like, why? The examples, again, where you'll, like, talk about one of the apostles telling the people, like, women, you shouldn't be speaking in church, sort of thing.
That was Paul.
That's to Jews? Was that part to Jews?
It was probably primarily to Jews, but there could have been Gentiles there too.
Okay.
It was a cultural thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but in terms of Paul's stance on circumcision, it's really just like the only reason you would get circumcised is to be like a Jew.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to be like a Jew, you are denying what Christ came and did, because he took care of all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you're ruining what he did. Yeah.
Do you think Jesus was circumcised?
Yeah.
This is an
Circumcised on the 8th day, it says.
really. This is a weird thing to admit.
That was Paul. Sorry. I don't think he was an anteater, though.
This is embarrassing to say, but I didn't realize, we realized recently that I didn't realize that that Jesus was a practicing Jew. Like I kind of thought he was like outside of the law because he did faith and love perfectly, that he like covered the law and and he like got mad at certain practices. So, but the distinguishing thing was that he wasn't a practicing Jew of like that time. He was a practicing Jew in the real sense of like he did the law perfectly. So the transferred assumption that I had was that Gentiles would also kind of do certain things like that. But there are some cultural things that both the Jews and the Gentiles as the bride did. Culturally. But when it came to the law, which is okay.
And I just want to make clear, do you know how or the approach Jesus used to fulfilling the law?
No.
Faith and love.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, it was faith and love that motivated him to keep the law. That's how it was perfectly perfected. It wasn't like he did everything in these certain ways the Jews had created, like you pour a half a thing of water here and you do it that way and all that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought he lived the law perfectly because his approach to it was faith and love for his Father and for man. Therefore, when he would go and do something, it would be from faith and from love. We say it was his obedience, and it was obedience, but it was obedience motivated in the right way, not obedience motivated in the wrong way. And when he came into the world, the Jews were doing obedience in the wrong way.
Okay. So he was perfect because of his motivation.
Yeah. Which
what
led
did
to perfect action.
What did he actually do, though?
He did all the main things that God set up the nation to do as a people. Circumcised on the 8th day, Sabbath day. But he interpreted it a little differently, didn't he? Because he approached the Sabbath day from a place of faith and love rather than, you can only walk this many feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he like broke a lot of the laws.
He broke laws according to the Jews of that day, but he didn't break a single law in the mind of God.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not easy.
Really tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people think, oh, he kept the law. He did it all because he just was so observant of all things. He was free. He did it because he was totally in faith and love.
Yeah, okay.
I love that dude, man. He is the radical one.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, more and more I see it every day. Okay, you were running a good race. Who cut it on you to keep you from obeying the truth? Thank you. If you're listening to this,
I am.
Shawn is.
You're running the good race.
No, not you. If someone's listening to this, Shawn was just running in place. Who cut in on you from keeping you from obeying the truth? That kind of persuasion does not come from the one who calls you. A little yeast works through the whole batch of dough. I am confident that in the Lord that you will take no other view. The one who is throwing you into confusion, whoever that may be, will have to pay the penalty. Brothers and sisters, if I'm still preaching circumcision, why am I still being persecuted? In that case, the offense of the cross has been abolished. As for those agitators, I wish they would go the whole way and emasculate themselves.
That's where the nuts come in. He didn't mince any words there, did he?
Yeah.
I'm sick of these guys.
Okay, sorry to be really dumb, but sometimes the word sorting gets me tripped up. What does he mean when, if I'm still preaching circumcision, why am I still being persecuted?
because he's saying
if I'm still preaching
circumcision, which would side with the Jews, then why are you persecuting me? You're a Jew.
Yeah.
I am still doing
that, though? It's a weird thing to say to me because he's not preaching.
He's not preaching circumcision, so he's trying to make it clear I'm not preaching that. If I was still preaching it, why am I being persecuted? So he's saying the persecution I'm getting is proving I'm not preaching circumcision.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. He gets tough sometimes.
Yeah. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. Do you want me to read the rest of this?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay.
I just don't have to look when I'm listening.
Yeah, you're looking at your phone. This is so casual for him.
I'm truly listening.
When I do that. I know you are. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free.
What do women want? I mean, if I look away, I'm not listening. If I look, you're staring too hard. Guy, staring at me with your eyes. What else am I going to stare at you with?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Not a good question.
Okay, keep going.
You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh rather than serve one another humbly.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful passage.
Yeah. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. If you bite and devour each other, watch out, or you'll be destroyed by each other.
Yeah. Again, stop fighting.
Yeah.
You
know. Like people get bothered by this sort of like love talk.
Yeah, they do.
Thinking it's easy.
Yeah, I know.
And it made me realize reading this that they can't do it. Like, they get bothered because they don't, like, they're terrible at loving. They have to have the law. Yeah. And they think it's easy, but they don't realize it's really hard. If they were left to their own devices, they would not be able to love.
Right.
And that's why they criticize it. It's a really backward thing. But
you're dead on. We had this room was full of people once, and we played As I Have Loved You, Loved One Another. And the predominantly Calvinist, love.
Yeah, like that alone is not loving.
Yeah.
They're just rude. The people that criticize love are so rude in doing it.
Yeah.
And you're like, if you're criticizing it, you think it's easy, you'd think you would be able to do it right now, just in the criticism.
Yeah.
That they can't.
Exactly.
That's so disturbing. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They're in conflict with one another, so that you do not do whatever you want. But if you're led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Like, I don't understand how people argue with you saying walk by the Spirit.
I don't
know. Like, all this time I've thought that this was maybe like a assumption you made from the fact that it's fulfilled. Like there is this thing where it literally says it.
Yeah.
Like it's word for word. And they take the Bible literally, and they don't take that literally.
No. They want to take the words over what the words are really conveying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's so this whole book is about this exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so glaring.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. What is it? Why can't people believe that we can walk by the Spirit? You can walk by the Spirit?
Because they'll say, well, then you're another Joseph Smith. You're another Russell. You're another Ellen G. White. And what they're not admitting is that when you walk by the Spirit, if you're truly walking by the Spirit, you're going to be in harmony with what was said.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not, then you're going to be out of harmony with what was said, and the fruit of what you say and do will be non-love.
Yeah.
So the way to test whether I'm walking by the Spirit is, do I teach real agape love and then live by that in what we do?
Yeah.
But they won't use that litmus test. All they want to do is say, you're just like. And just because there's charlatans out there doesn't mean that we all who walk by the Spirit are charlatans.
Yes.
Yeah.
They said they walk by the Spirit in this exact way. So where he says, don't indulge in the flesh
Yeah.
because you have the freedom. They just did that.
Yeah.
But so they clearly aren't walking by the Spirit because the flesh and the Spirit contradict one
That's
another.
right. They're always at war. That's the warfare we're in.
My gosh.
Constantly.
Yeah. All the time.
Yeah. And it's not just, do I go with my neighbor and sleep with them, or do I do this, drink, those are like the lesser fleshly things. Those are like the animal things that Christ took care of. The real things are when someone offends you, is annoying, that is the real war, because you're deciding every moment, do I tell them to fuck off, or do I try to love them and help them? And people who think that's easy, good luck. Every turn, every traffic. That's why, I am so much better in traffic. It's still something have difficulty with, because it's my will over everybody else's. And that is.
But that is how, you, in traffic, for instance, you can't just stop and not move and let everybody go in front of you. In this world, we have to be a person to exist. In order to function at all, you have to live. And that's why it's always at war, because you have to do things sometimes that you don't want to, literally.
You have to work a job that has nothing to do with God.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to do all kinds of things. So that is why the scripture is constantly trying to teach you to live, but don't go by its rules.
Yeah.
And
it just is so, I do not know how to do that well yet.
You're learning it.
It's really hard.
And I see you learning it, because we actually had a conversation 2 hours ago where you explained a concern. That's a real good indicator that you are growing, because to even have the concern shows that you're moving in that way. People who don't concern themselves with those things never ever ask, what can I do better? What did I do wrong? They don't do that, right? So it's an indicator that the Spirit is moving and working on you. Here's the promise on the air. You do this for 10, 20 years, you will not believe what God will do with you.
My gosh.
I say that to anybody who's listening.
Yeah.
If you will really try not to do it, but to let go and let Him for 10 or 20 years, you will be on your face every morning thanking Him, which is what I do before I get out of bed. I'm on my face thanking Him. I really? You didn't know that, do you?
No.
She sleeps above me on a bunk bed. I lay on my face on my bed.
Welcome to the insane life of McCraney and this ministry. We do what we have to.
Bunk bed living.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe that was said publicly on YouTube. It makes me want to die. No, it's actually really fun. We live well together.
She wakes up. I'm down there doing the sign of the cross, thinking that the incubus has crawled in above me. No warning. Just gasps.
It's true. Oh my gosh. Well, wait, on that note, what you just said, the fleshly things, the sort of ones that are more difficult versus not. He says the acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity and debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft. And then it's hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like.
Yeah.
I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God.
Okay, I want to make a comment in the Greek.
Ooh.
That phrase, those who live like this, means those who practice those things diligently. It doesn't mean people who slip into those things and make a mistake or go for a period of time.
It. Yeah.
They know they don't want it, but they might do it. That is not what he's talking about. He's talking about practitioners.
Okay. Well, it helps to know. But that, discord, they're really interesting ones thrown in there where it's
do you know that's one of the 7 things God hates? They're abominations to him, those who sow discord among the brethren.
That is so
He
crazy.
hates it. Yeah. So, and that's why I'm a little concerned about the name. But Grady brought that up. Because it's really funny that this thing's called discord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you liked the name when we first started it.
Well, I like discord when it comes to this world and, you know, like
the word
music
is nice.
and punk, and the word is cool.
Yeah.
A discord, but no, not in the faith.
Yeah.
The last thing I want in here is discord.
Yeah, there's something off for sure. It's funny.
You're starting to become a spiritual wordsmith like your dad, and now you're going to go into the madhouse.
No, it just, like, not that word. I didn't actually mean that word specifically. I just meant the principle of discord being included among sexual immorality and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that one I have a hard time with, because I feel so much darkness with things like discord, and but I'm wondering if it's just me being sensitive or confused or something. But it's a real thing.
It's yours. Honey, you have spiritual sensitivities that are maturing and growing, and your natural sensitivity to discord was a good thing. It was a blessing from God. And that you don't like it is a good thing that he's given you.
Weird.
Yeah. And there are spiritual gifts that help you discern how to live your life, whether you even believe or not. Yeah.
Well, that list is quite broad.
Yeah, it is.
Let's finish it up though. There's a few more verses. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such thing that there is no law. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking, or envying each other.
Yeah. So then the type of Christ is he was crucified, his flesh was put to death, buried, and then rose up to new life. And we do that process by putting our flesh to death and rising up to new life. That description of the fruit of the Spirit, if anyone ever wants to know if something's good or right, all they have to do is say, what's it producing? Is it producing that list or not? If it is, you can almost guarantee that it's good. If it's not, it's probably a teaching or philosophy that's not.
What do you think the self-control means in that one?
Exactly what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah, it means like with eating, it means with drinking, it means with anger, it means with alcohol use.
Like materially and interpersonally.
And interpersonally, within your emotions. It is you controlling those things.
Wow.
But how do you do it? You do it by the Spirit. If you do it by the flesh, then you're just going to be in a war that is unending. Yeah. If you let the Spirit, that's why I won't let my flesh do it. I let the Spirit do it. And if doing that first means I overeat for a few weeks in advance, the Spirit will come back and overcome that, and I'll stop it and change.
Yeah, I see.
Get it?
Yeah. I get there, I think, in the next chapter, but really fast. It's a long episode, but what do you think the place of like passion is with living by the Spirit? Like, they seem like passion is a weird thing, because I feel like it's very of our flesh, kind of like it seems like it's a thing of our nature, our human, the material, and it leads to things like non-self-control, but then also like great kindness. Like it feels like it does both.
I think religion has done a number on the word passion. I think the earlier church fathers were very big on this, very stern, solemn way of living and talking and everything. And yet I see David dance before God like a madman. And I see that, people would, with great exaltation, raise their hands and scream to God and sing to him. And I don't believe that in any way, shape, or form, passionlessness means godliness. I just think that you have to control them so that you don't go over from being in the light to being in the dark.
Yeah.
So again, it's a balancing thing. But I think passion in this life, how could we get anything done if we weren't passionate about it?
Yeah. And there's a good version of passion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I wondered if it was, I see how it turned into people thinking it as self-indulgence.
Yeah.
But that's also so crazy because there's really good things that come from passion. So it's like...
And that's why Christians today aren't big like on art.
Yeah.
But back in the earlier times, they were huge on art. Michelangelo and everybody.
It's so It's so
cultural.
Culturally specific. The way... Stupid. Okay.
All right.
Let's end that chapter.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Love y'all.
Love